Welcome, race fans, once again here to LSR TV. We have a special event race for you here tonight, as we'll get to the sponsors and all that here in just a minute, as we want to quickly introduce our second chair here for tonight's event, or one of the events we have going on here on the channel tonight, and that is none other than Race on Texas's very own Nick Robbins. Nick, welcome to the booth here for a road course.
Yeah, Charles, thanks so much for having me here this evening. I'm really excited. Appreciate all the fans tuning in this evening. We got a really special treat here tonight, some GT3 cars on the racetrack this evening at Sebring International Raceway, going 100 kilometers. It's a 40-minute timed race. It's going to be really something special, something very different than what we're used to seeing on some of the pavement ovals and dirt ovals that we're used to showing the folks here at LSR TV.
Yeah, it definitely is. And actually have two road races in a row, a 20-minute race, and of course this 40-minute race right now with Matthew Powers currently fastest in practice with a minute 59. But before we dive deep into those times and stuff, we need to thank the sponsors that make this all possible here. Of course, Team PREMAT, the presenting sponsor, and then of course UFD, which I had to look at the fine print that you can't see there, Nick, in that logo, and that is United Fiber and Data. So I'll have to do some research on there, but Team UFD, and Nick, you can never go wrong with some fiber if it has anything to do with internet.
Hey, internet or your diet, it's always good for you.
That is true. So a diet, internet, either one good. But again, we'll dive into a little bit of practice here, as they have about 5 minutes left to go. Again, we are going to do our best to not butcher these names. This is a one-off race. We've got the list. Hopefully we don't mess them up too bad. But Tristan Valtier, I believe is how you pronounce it. He's on his outlap here at the moment as we're watching him. And he's been doing some really good times in that number 10 machine.
Yeah, really impressive here, actually, ladies and gentlemen. So we're watching a 3.7-mile road course here at Sebring International Raceway, 17 turns, like we mentioned earlier. And Tristan Vaultier, we're looking at right now in the number 10 Mercedes SLS AMG, a time of 1:59.57 seconds. You think less than 2 minutes, just under 2 minutes to cover almost 4 miles. These cars are absolutely hauling around here, reaching top speeds of over 160 miles an hour. Charles, a lot faster than some of the race cars we're used to seeing on some of our regular shows.
Yeah, it definitely is. It's different. It's road course racing. You know, we're used to the dirt side of things here, Nick, especially me and you both, where we turn right, but it's to go left. These guys are going to be turning right to go right. That's almost, you know, a mind blower for me. I'm not used to doing that, but these guys definitely are. We know a lot of these are real life racers as well. Not all of them, but some of them is the one we're watching right now. Reading in the notes, it says he is a pro DPI Cadillac driver, so that's a far stretch from a Cadillac there in a Mercedes-Benz.
Yeah, Daytona prototype there for Cadillac. Some really interesting guys here this evening. Like I said, a whole lot different than we're used to. I have never, just want to throw this out there, never announced a race, virtual or otherwise, on a track with more than 4 corners. We got 17 here tonight. I've had to do a little research on Sebring here. Some very interesting and tricky complexes here at this raceway. Of course, it was built back in the late 40s, 46, 47, I believe, is when most of the construction was done. Held its first race in 1950 and is also built on an ex-military air base. So some of the sections that you see here, ladies and gentlemen, of course, we're looking at some of the inroads here right now. Nice smooth pavement, not a lot of elevation change here, which can be tricky, but the trickiest part, I think, is Charles, when you come into turn 17, the final corner is going to go from that smooth racetrack pavement onto old concrete runway, which was built in large sections with some very rough transitions between the tiles almost of runway. It's going to be very interesting to see how these drivers handle that. Of course, there's a very high-speed start-finish straight as well, and then a very tricky left-hand turn for turn 1 at 90 degrees, a big sweeping piece of racetrack that kind of funnels into a bottleneck almost. It's going to be very, very interesting. Some very high-speed, treacherous corners here on this 3.7-mile road course here at Sebring International.
Yeah, and I'm really looking forward to see how all of these drivers handle, especially the start of this race. Keep in mind, it's road courses. There are no full course cautions, so it will be straight 40 minutes of racing. So we see somebody go off track there. But again, 40 minutes of actual racing, no cautions, nothing like that. So it's going to be interesting to see how these guys handle it. 4 different cars, well, at least scheduled 4 different cars, Nick. Right now, we're seeing pretty much Mercedes taking over. So, we had 4 cars scheduled, but Mercedes has taken the invasion over here at Sebring.
Yeah, it looks like 19 entries here for this race. 17 of those 19 are driving the Mercedes-Benz SLS AMG GT3 car. We've got 1 Ferrari 488 GT3. That's going to be driven by Rob Bramlett. You see him on screen right now, ladies and gentlemen. And the lone BMW in the field this evening, which is also, interestingly enough, atop the pre-race practice standings here as we come into our final seconds of pre-race practice here. Matthew Powers atop the leaderboards right now with a 1:59.55 in the lone BMW Z4 GT3. Another interesting note, all of these cars except for the Ferrari that you're seeing right now on track, front engine rear wheel drive. The Ferrari, of course, with a mid-engine rear wheel drive setup. So a whole lot different than we're used to seeing here with the LSR TV. Most of our races, we appreciate each of our fans tuning in this evening. We hope that if some of you are regular oval track racers and spectators, you like what you see here this evening. I know that deep inside of my dirt track announcer body, there is a road racing fan. Just really phenomenal. Some of the North American road racing, and indeed this track, Sebring International Raceway, really, Charles, is the home of endurance racing in this country, holding some of our first endurance races back in 1950, and some very famous ones continue to be held throughout the season at Sebring International. We've got, of course, the 12 Hours of Sebring. There's a 6-hour endurance race, and then one that is 1,000 miles in distance here. And right now, Charles, it looks like we are going into some qualifying here. 10-minute session for qualifying. 4 laps from each driver going to be clocked. We'll see what these drivers can put down. Of course, we were under 2 minutes in our pre-race practice. We'll see what these drivers have for qualifying times. I would expect some of these times to be quite a bit lower, as the fuel loads will probably be pretty light here for these 4-lap qualifying sessions.
Yeah, and I believe, I thought it was originally scheduled to be a 15-minute qualifying session. As I'll see if I can't pull that up, but either way, the time says 10, so that's what we're gonna go with here tonight. As I'm gonna try to pull that up, and yes, originally scheduled, at least per the notes we got, it was supposed to be a 15-minute qual. It really isn't going to hurt us that much, but it could affect these drivers. As we're watching right now, Matthew Powers, the fastest in practice. You do not want to go off track. That's an extra 5 minutes you do not have. So, if it's a 2-minute time around this track, you go off track twice, invalidate your lap. That really is going to hurt you if you don't have that extra 5 minutes.
Oh, absolutely, Charles, and this is definitely an area where this particular race, and many of the dirt track races, especially that we do pretty much every week or every day, really, here on LSR TV, qualifying are the most important laps that you're going to turn all night long. Now, in dirt track racing, it's 2 laps, and they're about 17 seconds long. And here at Sebring International, you get 4 laps, but you only get 10 minutes to turn 4 laps. And like we've mentioned, roughly a 2-minute lap time and one of those doesn't count already. So you really don't have time to mess up here. You got 17 turns. A lot of things can go wrong. You've really got to have a rhythm and a flow. We've got big sweeping corners here like turn 1. You see Matthew Powers negotiating that big sweeping left-hander here back off of the runway onto that smooth pavement and into the complex here at turns 3, 4, and 5. A very technical left, right, left setup. You've really got to have a rhythm through this section right here, and then back into Big Bend under the Corvette Bridge, turn 6 into the safety pin. A huge sweeping right-hander easily onto one of the fastest parts of the straightaway. You see Matthew here 150 miles an hour all the way down to 43 miles an hour. So these cars kill speed just as quickly as they pick it up here, Charles. Some impressive driving through one of the most technical sections on this racetrack.
Yeah, these guys, again, like you said, those high speeds and then abruptly coming down very slow. You know, the only time I've seen a car go from that fast to that slow was probably when I took a sprint car out to a dirt track on iRacing. But regardless of jokes and stuff, these guys are doing a fantastic job. We'll see where they stack up when it's all said and done, as we've already seen a couple of them go off. It looks like one of the presenting sponsors here from Team UFD is going to be Bill Hines. He went off track, so that's going to invalidate his lap. Again, you cannot make mistakes. Mistakes are definitely going to be killer when it comes to get around this track. And you know what I want to see, Nick, is if somebody does make a mistake, their laps don't count, but they are a fast driver. What's going to happen if they're stuck deep in this field? That is going to be very treacherous territory, especially for that first lap or two while they get sorted out.
Oh, most definitely. And you know, another thing that we have to think about here a little bit differently, Charles, these first 1, 2, possibly even 3 laps, depending on how aggressive these drivers are. As we go back to Matthew Powers, who crosses the start-finish line here in his qualifying session and immediately goes to the top of the charts with a 2-minute 0.13 second elapsed time. You got to think about tire temperature. The first couple of laps are going to be super sketchy for these drivers here. It is going to really take some very, very tough concentration, absolute dedication to that line. You've got to know this racetrack like the back of your hand. But at the same time, Charles, you know, this really is a sprint race. It's 40 minutes. At 2 minutes a lap, we're looking at roughly 20 laps here. That's the same number of laps as a Friday or Saturday night dirt track race. It's an all-out bare-knuckle sprint race here with the Team PREMAT Racing group this evening.
Yeah, it is. And speaking of PREMAT, Alex PREMAT right now second fastest with a 2-minute time. But your fastest driver so far is actually Tristan Valtier. He is the top driver right now with a minute 59.581. Again, that is roughly what Powers was running in practice. So we'll see if Powers' second lap can be a little bit better. But again, it's not about laps, it's about time here tonight. So I'll get that through my head eventually. But still on his second lap, as he may be able to squeeze 1, possibly 2 in, because the way timed races work and time qualifying works, if you start a third lap and it's, you know, 9 minutes and 59 seconds in, as long as you start it, it will allow you to finish that lap.
So that's going to be very, very key here, folks, for some of these drivers. Like you said, Charles, we're already over halfway through this practice session. In fact, 6 minutes have elapsed out of a 10-minute time here. So if these guys start that third lap before the timer runs out, they do get to go ahead and complete it. So if you've got a good run coming out of a turn 17 towards that start-finish line on that bumpy runway main straightaway, it can very easily help you out to get another qualifying lap here in this qualifying session. Quick run down the top 5 right now. Tristan Valtier right now out in front, a 159.41 second elapsed time. Matthew Powers, the lone BMW driver here this evening in that Z4 GT3, sits second. You see him having an off there. That looks like turns 3, 4, and 5 coming under the Corvette Bridge there into Big Bend. So that's a tricky section. We talked about that one earlier. It's a really tight right, left, right complex. So Tristan or Matthew Powers having an off there, but nonetheless still second on the qualifying standings right now with a 2-minute flat elapsed time. Alex Premat right now third with a 2-minute .03, so 3/100ths of a second out of second spot right now. Stephen Mason with a 2:01.48, and Joseph Smith rounds out the top 5 with a 2:01.79 second elapsed time. I don't know about the rest of these guys, Charles, but I think Tristan Vaultier's got something figured out. He's got a 6/10 of a second lead right now in qualifying. Is Joseph Smith going to have a wild ride right there? That looks like it's in turns 10, 11, and 12. That is the number 15 Mercedes-Benz SLS AMG there. And
Yeah,
Joseph going to get that squared away, get it back out on the racetrack. And another one, Charles, right there. You go right to Roger Eagleton. He has trouble right there in turn 2, hangs the wheel off, and that's all she wrote. And I got to tell you right there, folks, that is the trickiest part of this road racing, because you've got to have that spatial awareness, Charles, know where the car is, know where the track is.
Yeah, and he actually is one of the Team PREMAT drivers. Again, that Team PREMAT located in fabulous Las Vegas. Unfortunately, lately, I don't think it's been very fabulous. As they probably don't have very many lights on the casinos. I don't know if they're open or not, but fabulous Viva Las Vegas, maybe not so fabulous right now, but regardless of that, this whole race here that they're throwing together, as we stay with Eagleton here, is really to get their friends, family, the drivers, the competitors, all that, to kind of give them something to do during this downtime right now. I know a lot of places are starting to open back up race-wise, but a lot of places have not opened up yet, so these guys are still trying to, you say, scratch that fever they have to get back behind the races, the wheel of a race car.
Oh, yeah. And I mean, you know a little bit about that. You got to go to the racetrack this weekend. You get to go again 2 times in a row this coming up weekend. You've got a Friday and Saturday night show there at Monarch. I don't get to do that. Both of my racetracks, Heart of Texas and Waco on Fridays, and South Texas Speedway down in Corpus on Saturdays. I haven't been to the racetrack since beginning of March, roughly. So I'm jonesing here. This iRacing stuff, man, is really great, and it's awesome to be part of this this one-off event here with Team PREMAT Racing. I just want to thank you for having me out, man. This is cool stuff, something a little different than what we're used to.
Yeah, and one thing we haven't talked about here, Nick, is they are actually running lone qualifying here as well. So it's lone qualifying at 10-minute as we're coming up on those last few minutes, and a couple of drivers haven't even taken times yet. But it's different than, say, the race we're gonna do a little bit later tonight. Is their checkered flag is gonna wave, and I stand corrected. I thought they would give him time, but it does not give him time. It straight advance, I guess, because it was lone qualifying, not open qualifying. So I do correct myself there.
Right on into the race here, ladies and gentlemen, getting ready for 40 minutes here at this 3.7-mile road course at Sebring International Raceway. Some really, really good racing coming up here, ladies and gentlemen, with the Team PREMAT group here. Really interesting to see things kicking off here. Charles Tristan Vaultier, of course, going to be on the pole in that Mercedes SLS AMG. And looks like next to him going to be Matthew Powers, the lone BMW driver here. He'll be outside the front row.
Is indeed, and again, to try not to get any names wrong here, we'll do our best. As of course, Alex Premat and Roger Eagleton going to be third and fourth. Stephen and Travis going to be on the third row and fifth and sixth. Seventh and eighth, Joseph Smith and Corey. I believe that's Nesbitt is the correct pronunciation. Again, we apologize for anything that we do get wrong. And Nick, how'd you say we pronounce that? I believe that's a French name. He's from France.
It's going to be Pierre Preville. He'll be in ninth spot, and looks like Jeffrey Nininger going to be alongside in the 10th position. George Stykos is going to be in the 11th spot. Mark Ramsey 12th. 13, we've got Stephen Vajda. And it looks like Rob Bramlett in the lone Ferrari 488, going to be starting 14th. Drew Neubauer, Romain Thieven, row number 8. Looks like Bill Hines and Simon Seeger in row number 9. William Mendez and Nathan Kaiser in row number 10. and Corentin Dubois, excuse me, supposed to be starting by himself in row number 11. Charles, we've got 21 cars. Looks like everyone just about on the grid, and we should be getting ready here in just a moment to take this green flag here. We are behind the, looks like a Porsche Cayenne there on the front stretch, and we are rolling here, folks. It'll be a rolling start for the Team PREMAT group here at Sebring International Raceway. GT3 cars tonight on LSR TV.
Yeah, definitely going to be an interesting one here, seeing the rolling start. You know, some of them do standing start. Usually with this type of racing, they do a rolling start. So good to see that these guys going to get everything wrapped up here, and having a slight issue with the overlays here. We're going to have a little bit of time to get around this track anyway. So while they do that, let's see if we can get those sorted out here for you real quick, as obviously we want to make sure everybody can see everyone and where they're at on the track, Nick, because that's kind of an important thing.
Yeah, it's a little bit different here than we're used to, folks. We do appreciate you bearing with us. Of course, it's a whole lot different than what we usually do on here at LSR TV. We got a lot of oval racing. We don't normally have to count past 4 when it comes to corners on the racetrack. So going to be interesting for sure. As I mentioned before, 21 cars. Looks like 19 of those cars are the Mercedes-Benz SLS AMG GT3 machine, of course, as we roll through the safety pin here at turn 7. Actually, I believe that's turn 10, 11, and 12 that we're in right now. So you got one lone BMW Z4 driven by Matthew Powers and one lone Ferrari 488 GT3 driven by Rob Bramlett back on row number 7. So, Charles, the odds are very much in the favor of the Mercedes-Benz guys here tonight.
They are indeed, and we still got a little bit of time here before they get to the line. So quickly, we're going to get these overlays sorted out. We're going to cut to a quick commercial break real quick. It'll be a short one, just enough time for us to sort it out. So give us just a moment, and we will be right back.
They say everything is bigger. These guys down in Texas aren't messing around. This feature race will separate the boys from the men, the girls from the ladies. Can you handle racing 300 laps?
All right, and again, it's that quick. That's how fast we can get stuff fixed around here. As we see there, a little hiccup in the overlays. They kept wanting to put the 21st driver in first. I mean, that's good for him, but not good for the rest of the field in our overlays.
Yeah, absolutely. Good for would be good for Corentin Dubois there, but not good for the rest of the field, folks. We are rolling down the back straightaway here at Sebring International Raceway. Charles, we're about to turn into that treacherous turn 17. You'll see the transition here on the screen from that very smooth racetrack pavement onto this runway type section here. The drivers are going to make that right hand turn. It's actually a double apex turn here. You enter into turn 17, the first apex, the car kind of gets bouncy from the runway section there. You got to let the car drift out, slow itself down as the green flag comes out. The safety car looks to pull in, and we are underway here at Sebring International. Ladies and gentlemen, 40 minutes on the clock. This race starts now.
There it is, 6 seconds in. We'll go ahead and put the gap to the leader, of course. Several different cars, but they are in one class. They are being scored together. These are all GT3 cars, and one of them is trying to go dirt tracking it back in, well, now the back of the field was kind of the mid field at one point, but these guys are still putting on a good little show here all over the place, and we just got started, of course. So we'll keep an eye everywhere, but right now I think the middle is probably going to be where we're going to see the most battles at.
Oh, definitely. I mean, the racetrack is still real cold. It hasn't come up to temp yet. The tires are still cold. We're heading into one of the slowest corners on the racetrack. Alex PREMAT right now in second spot, trying to run down Tristan Vaultier. A couple of Mercedes cars out in front. Matthew Powers, representing the BMW crowd, sits in the third spot. We've got a couple of cars off track back in turn 6. Your leaders already up into turns 8 and 9 here. Actually, this is 10, 11, and 12. Another one of those right, left, right complexes, and we've got one around right on the front, right in the middle of the leaders there, ladies and gentlemen. That looks like it's Roger Eagleton going for a wild ride, and Bill Hines off as well. Some crazy action here on the first lap. These cold tires, Charles, really giving these guys a once over here.
Yeah, and that is one of our presenting sponsors, that Team UFD, United Fiber and Data. Bill Hines going off there, so unfortunate for him as we'll go back to the front, and that really kind of spread these guys out just a little bit as we were just about to go on board with Alex PREMAT in that Mercedes-Benz. And you know, just to look on board here as we watch him try to run down Trishan in the number 10, as he's doing a fairly good job of it right now coming around this corner. But look at the vent there for the air conditioner. I wish my car in real life had a vent like that.
Come at it from the dashboard, bullet right on you. You could see the rough transition there, folks, and how bumpy. That was turn 17 coming onto the main straightaway here. We head into turn 1. Keep this angle here, Charles. We're going to come through this big left-hand sweeper, and you see the line by Vaultier there, keeping it right up against that inside wall, right on the apex. It looks like PREMAT a little bit wide here through turns 3. This is turn 2 into turn 3, and turn 4 right here, a big tight left-hand corner. Actually, that was turn 5. We now head on to turn 6 under the Corvette bridge. It's this big bend right here. You see the speed climbing, 130 miles an hour, 140 miles an hour. The fuel loads haven't quite come off yet. You touch 150 and then into one of the slowest corners on the racetrack, down to 40 miles an hour for the safety pin there at turn 7.
Yeah, and you know, as we watch him go around these corners, you know, you talk about sophisticated machines. I just can't get over the steering wheel on these things. That is, you know, not like any steering wheel I've ever seen before inside of a car. So Mercedes having some nice looking rides inside their cars.
You can tell a big difference from these guys. Of course, if you're watching one of those late model videos that we do, we go in car, you see the driver sawing on the wheel, trying to yank it back and forth around, as we now go on board with Matthew Powers, who's driving that lone BMW Z4. They're not really turning the wheel much. They don't have to. You don't want to be sawing on the wheel for 17 corners. You want to just be able to turn it very little and get enough steering angle out of it as we now come through turn, I believe that was 15 or 16. Yeah, would have been turn 16 down this back straightaway. Let's run along with Powers here. You'll see the transition from this main straight, or this back straight, I should say, into that runway section right here in turn 17. Look how bumpy the track gets so quickly. Still going through this corner at 90 miles an hour just about. Down the front stretch now, across the start-finish line once again. 4 minutes into this race, Charles, they are really blistering it here at Sebring International. Even with these race fuel loads, we're still right around the 2-minute mark for a lap time.
Yeah, and you know, we go back off the board with him. You talk about, you know, that corner there, how bumpy it is, and these cars do a fantastic job of getting around it. But as bumpy as it is, you saw just how close Powers got to that outside wall. You hit a bump just wrong, and it can easily send you into those tire barriers or into the wall here. And you know, it's not like a NASCAR track where the wall is an inch away, you scrape it, you keep going. You go into the wall here, you're going to go through possible grass, sand, and tire barriers. You're going to hit a lot of things potentially along the way, and could easily tear up the car and or just lose a lot of time.
Oh, no doubt. I mean, with the grass runoff here, the gravel pits at Sebring, you'll see a few of those as well. Yeah, the walls are a lot further away from you than they are as we look at Nathan Kaiser. They're taking the scenic route into Big Bend. It's a lot different. The walls being so far away, the grass is there to kill the speed on some of these cars, or at least help to do so, as well as the gravel pits. You see the runoff there at turn 7 as Mark Ramsey is taking a scenic route That's down the main straight off of turn 16, down there on the backside of turn 16 and 17. So it's wild, though, to see how different this is from what we're used to, man. As you see another car there using every inch of the pavement here. As we take a look at Mark Ramsey. Ramsey right now shows to be in the 18th position, working that turn 17 complex. Again, you see how bumpy that is. And you're exactly right, Charles. If you hit one of those bumps just the wrong way, the car's going to go, the front end's going to go light. You're going to lose your steering. It's going to go into the wall somewhere. We got a good group here with William Mendez right now riding around. Let's see, Mendez shows to be in the 9th position. So that's like 8th, 9th, and 10th on the racetrack right now. Coming into that turn 17 complex, and we might have a little net code there.
Yeah, that is gonna be one of your people putting this on. That is Simon Seeger in the number 7 machine, and netcode or a little bump, something happened there. He goes around and he is going to take it directly to the pits. I believe that what is it called? Do not pass go. Do not click $200 from Monopoly.
Yeah. Seeger backed it in the wall pretty good there coming through turn 17. So there's probably a lot of damage to that Mercedes-Benz. Simon Seeger, of course, the team Premat manager and technical director. So we do want to thank him for helping us put this race together. We've got a lot of really cool drivers here. We've got Roger Eagleton is a team Premat driver, of course. Our current race leader, Tristan Vaultier, is a pro racing driver, drives a Daytona Prototype International for Cadillac, so that's pretty cool for sure. Another one, William Hines, we watched him earlier, a UFD owner and official sponsor of this race. He is a stadium super truck driver, so it doesn't get much different from what he's doing right now to what he usually does for fun behind the wheel of a big 800 horsepower stadium super truck. So that's pretty cool. Just some of the different backgrounds. We've got Rob Bramlett here on the racetrack as well this evening. I believe Rob's driving our lone Ferrari right now, sitting in 13th position. Rob is a Janetta USA team driver, so great to have Rob here with us this evening. Another professional racing driver doing 130 miles an hour right now in a Ferrari. Looks like we're coming into turn 12 here at the very top of that track map, if you can see that at all. Looks like 12, 13, and 14 here. That's another very technical complex as we head back out towards that back straightaway area. Going to be some very high speeds here for Rob in just a second. Looks like that's going to be turn 15 there. We're going to come in. Actually, nope, this is going to be 12, 13, 14 right here. That Rob is entering another right complex, and then Rob going to turn into turn 16, left-hander onto one of the fastest parts of the course here. As Bill Hines off track, the stadium super truck driver, taking a wild track there in that 57 machine. Charles, these corners sneak up on you real quick. You got to be on your toes.
Yeah, and we're seeing him on the track map right here. He was right in one of those turns where you go right, left, and you know, quite frankly, just saying that confuses me. So I can only imagine how tough it is. And you know, I'm gonna have to do my research here, and I'm probably wrong in this, but stadium trucks, is that not where Robbie Gordon from NASCAR, doesn't he do a lot of that, or does he just do the Baja stuff?
I believe he did some of that that Mickey Thompson off-road racing. Somebody, I'm sure, in the comments will let us know a little bit later on. But yeah, Robbie Gordon definitely got his start in some off-road racing, some Baja racing. We've got some drivers down at South Texas Speedway who run the Baja 1000 just about every year. They brought their big stadium truck that they drive through the desert at 140 miles an hour in the dark out to the racetrack one night, man. And I got to tell you, it stole the show. That was one of the coolest things I have ever seen in person, is that big, huge, very powerful truck that just storms through the desert in the middle of the night at 100 plus miles an hour. We got a good group of cars right here, folks, coming into another, I believe that's 12, 13, 14, nope, 13, 14, 15 there. Corey Nesbitt right now. Nesbitt on the racetrack in 5th position. He's one of the movers and shakers, up 3 spots here in the earlier portion of this race. We're approaching the 10-minute mark, so 25% of the race has elapsed. And Nesbitt right now down the back straightaway here at Sebring International, touching 160 miles an hour as we come into this turn 17. Again, that rough transition from that backstretch pavement into this runway section here, a double apex right-hander. They drift all the way towards the wall. You've got Nesbitt right now in 5th, Joseph Smith in 6th, and Jeffrey Niniger up 3 spots from 10th to 7th. Charles, let's shuffle back to 10th spot here. We'll be looking at William Mendez. Mendez is up 9 spots. He's the man on the move here in this race. That beautiful yellow and blue Mercedes-Benz SLS AMG. Mendez, the guy on the move right now, folks, up 9 spots from 19th to his 10th place on the racetrack.
And he's moving up, and we have a few, if those are the movers, and I guess the shakers are the ones that are on pit road right now, with Bill Hines and Drew Neubauer are going to be sitting in the pits. Unfortunately, their day coming to an end a little bit sooner than they wanted, as looks like Mark Ramsey's going to go off a track pretty heavy there. And again, that grass is just super slow. It slows you down. That's what it's there to do. It's to slow you down. And unfortunately, it did its job for him. Your leaders really have kind of checked out from the field. I really thought Alex PREMAT had something for Tristan, but unfortunately, when that incident happened on the track and it kind of shuffled up the field, it kind of we got a gap between those front two. I think it would have happened eventually, but unfortunately for Alex, it happened a little bit quicker than he probably would have liked it to, just because everyone was checking up to avoid the wreck.
Yeah, and when your lap times are so close, I mean, it actually, Alex's last lap was about a second, a little over a second quicker than your leader, Tristan Vaultier. We had a last lap time of 2:02.06 for Tristan, and Alex clocking in there with a 2:01.04. They're both a lot faster that time around. Both of them down around the 2-minute mark, with Alex PREMAT actually having his best lap of the race on that lap. Once again, we are here about 13 minutes into this race. This really one of those, another technical here into turns 3, 4, and 5. We're going to come out of turn number 5 here, that vicious left-hander onto Big Bend here. You see at the track map, one of the fastest parts of the racetrack here, about the halfway point of the lap as well, into the safety pin. You're going to go from 150 once again here. We look at Alex PREMAT, 150 all the way down to about 40 miles an hour. Actually touched under 40 that time. Grab all of the curb through turns 8 and 9, up into turn number 9, I should say. That is another big sweeper, another high-speed section right here into a very tricky 3-turn complex. You've got a left, a right, and then another left. That is turns 11, 12, and 13, and then another little complex at corners here. Looks like a left-hander and a couple of right-hand apexes. Down another not so straight into turns 13, 14, and 15. Or excuse me, 14, 15, and 16. PREMAT again 145 miles an hour through this little section of corners here. Charles slows it down to under 100 for that big right-hander there, and then a hard right hand onto this big straight, the longest straightaway here at Sebring International Raceway. This backside here, down you see the haulers there on the driver's right, 150 miles an hour again through this straightaway. PREMAT going to probably touch 160 this time around as we make that hard transition once again from the smooth pavement onto that runway section there in turn 17. You see how much the car slows down from 150 to about 70 and then back to 100 all in the course of one corner. It is absolutely insane what these guys do lap after lap, Charles.
It definitely is. We got a little bit of a battle back here, but I want to also point out that a lot of these guys are just now hitting their fastest lap of the session. They aren't hitting the fastest lap in the session, but they are hitting their fastest lap of the session. Nathan Kaiser back there, he just hit his fastest lap of the session. William Mendez, a 2.02.53. He hit his fastest lap of the session while we watched this battle with Jeffrey Nottinger, and I believe that's Roger Eagleton. It is right behind him. So this is the closest battle on the track right now. But again, we are now 15 minutes into the race, and people are hitting their fastest laps. That really doesn't surprise me too much. They're able to get away from other cars, get out into the clear, and they're able to hit those fast times.
Not only that, they're obviously giving themselves some more room on the racetrack, but the tires have come up to temperature. The fuel load has started to come off. We've burned some of that race fuel load. You know, fuel weighs a lot, and it's really gonna weigh these cars down. You know, we're not too far off where we were in qualifying and practice, but with that race fuel load in this car, it not only changes the weight, it changes the weight distribution, and it changes the way the car responds to the input from the driver around the racetrack. So I feel like as we see, if the guys can manage their tires, of course, there aren't any scheduled pit stops in a 40-minute race. So this is an all-out, you got what you got at the end. So you do have to do a little tire conservation here. As you know, we wouldn't think very much about that on a 40-lap dirt race. Of course, in iRacing, there's not really tire wear on dirt, but even in a real life situation, we wouldn't be concerned about tire wear for 40 laps. The tires are going to make it probably, unless you're just driving way over your head. But these guys really have to think about that, because this track is really going to beat these tires up over this 40-minute distance.
Yeah, you know, you talk about that. You know, you talk about a dirt race. You know, they may run the same pair of tires, you know, 2, 3, 4 weeks. 1 week if there's someone like Rodney Sanders probably who's got the money to just buy tires left and right. You mean these guys, like you said, these tires are going to be destroyed after a race. They're going left, the right, they're slowing down, they're speeding up. We'll lose my voice. So, you know, you really have to be easy on them here just to make sure they last 40 minutes.
Oh, absolutely, and you've definitely got to worry about where your tires are going to be at the 20, you know, the quarter mark, the half mark, the 3/4 mark, and then of course, if you don't have anything there at the end, you're going to be losing so much speed that you're going to lose all of the ground that you probably gained in the beginning. We've got a really nice tight little battle here. Between Jeffrey Niniger and I believe that's Roger Eagleton right there behind him. Niniger right now sitting in the 7th spot, Eagleton in the 8th position. Niniger up 3 spots, Eagleton down 4 from his 4th spot starting on the grid. And we've got a good little race here. That's looks like turns 7, 8, and 9. We go on board with Roger Eagleton trying to get around the 2 Mercedes in front of him with Niniger right there. That's some heavy braking coming into turn number 10. Right-hander there, you pointed at the big oak tree for turn number 11 and 12. 2 big left-handers and then another right. We're going to be coming into it. Ooh, getting squirrely there in front of Eagleton. I can't quite see who that, I believe that's Niniger right there in front of him, getting real squirrely there, grabbing all of that curb off that right-hand corner. We come into our final 3-turn complex here. This should be 13, 14, and 15. Hard on the brakes again, back down to under 80 miles an hour. This is turn 15 and then into turn 16. Most important right-hander, you got to get good speed out of this to have a huge run down the longest straightaway here. You want to have about 160 mile an hour head of steam coming into turn 17 is what we've been seeing out of most of these cars. And you see how evenly these cars are matched, Charles. Pretty much nose to tail as Eagleton looks to the inside in turn 17, gets the door shut, maybe caught a toe or two there, man.
Yeah, I thought he was about to hit that wall too. You know, we're looking from this view here just for a minute more. As I see AMG on the back wing of this car. If you're right now Eagleton sitting behind him, when you saw him get a little squirrely like that, that wing might as well have said OMG, because he was probably a little scared that car was about to go around right in front of him.
Oh, no doubt. And you've got to be concerned about that. As I mean, again, Eagleton just inches off these guys. We go back out the outside the car. You can watch this group of 3 right here. I believe that's 5th or 6th, 7th, and 8th. Excuse me. So it should be Joseph Smith, Jeffrey Niniger, Roger Eagleton. Looks like Stephen Mason having an off-the-track moment there. Oh, and who is that just grabbed the wall?
That is going to be Roman Thielen. That's also going to get collected there. You know, he may need a new fire suit after that one, as well as a new car as well.
Man, Roman grabbing all of those tires in that safety barrier. There's going to be some damage for sure. We go back to this 3-car group here. Man, Charles, this is some of the closest racing we've got on the track. The leaders are kind of walking away with this one. We're quickly approaching the halfway mark here, but I tell you what, Joseph Smith and that 15 machine is holding off these 2 right here, and I think if Roger Eagleton could just get around Jeffrey Niniger there, Eagleton might challenge Smith there for that 5th spot. You know, Eagleton qualified 4th on the grid and suffered early on in the race, had an off or 2 and went back a few spots and has clawed his way back towards where he started. He's just looking for forward momentum here, Charles, trying to make some progress towards the end of this thing.
Yeah, he definitely is. You know, like you said, this is the battle on the track right now. Currently for sixth position, I do believe. No, sorry, it is actually for fifth position. And I'm not sure. Indeed, we may see them catch fourth here in a minute. That is Corey Nesbitt. That is just a little bit ahead of them. So there you see as he's going to be coming to the line right about there, and this is that group coming behind it right now, fourth, fifth, and sixth. So if they use any bit of draft, I'm not saying there's a whole lot of draft here anyway, but if they can kind of work together and not fight each other, they very well could catch fourth place here very soon.
Well, Eagleton actually has the second fastest lap out of those 4 cars. So if you look at Corey Nesbitt's best lap, Joseph Smith, Roger Eagleton, it looks like Eagleton has gotten around Jeffrey Ninegar. Indeed, he has. Eagleton right now, his best lap of the race, not his last lap, but his best lap, a 2-minute.7 second elapsed time. So Eagleton's got the speed and seems to know this racetrack. He's just got a couple of cars in front of him right now. And as we've said many times before here on LSR TV, catching somebody, Charles, is one thing. Making your way around them is another.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot easier to catch somebody than it is to pass somebody. And, you know, excuse me, you have a lot of opportunities here. That's one way to get an opportunity right there, is to watch your competition. That is Joseph Smith, and the number 15. He just gets it a little hot into the corner, and around he goes, and he's going to lose three spots. I figured he'd lose a few more, but that is unfortunate for him. But now Roger Eagleton is clear of him, and he's going to keep going. We'll see if he can catch up to Corey Nesbitt here in the next couple of laps or minutes.
Eagleton has salvaged right now a top 5 finish, Charles. He's got a long way to go here. I'm looking at the live timing screen. About a 4.5 second gap between himself and Corey Nesbitt, and Nesbitt is about 19 seconds behind third place Matthew Powers right now. So Nesbitt kind of in no man's land, but may have some company here in the next couple of laps from Roger Eagleton. Tristan Vaultier right now, or Vaultier, I should say, out front right now by about 5 1/3 second, or 5 1/4 seconds over Alex Premat. Premat right now sitting in the second position. Looks like their last lap's about 2 seconds apart. Premat right now heading down. Looks like into turn, believe that's going to be 10, 11, and 12 at the top of the racetrack. Actually, nope, that's directly out of the hairpin, so that's going to be into turn 9 right there. Looks like going back up into 10, 11, and 12. So Alex Premat right now a solid second position. He's got a little bit of company there from Matthew Powers. They might be one of the closest battles on the racetrack right now. Of course, Powers, our lone BMW representative here in the field. Rob Bramlett driving the only Ferrari, sitting right now in 13th spot. So Matthew Powers holding it up for Bavarian Motorworks right now. These guys struggling here, outnumbered for sure by the Mercedes by a pretty substantial amount. So Powers right now trying to hold his own here against these Mercedes cars, and doing a fine job of it right now, sitting in that third spot.
Yeah, he definitely is doing a good job. Again, originally scheduled in here, were to be 4 different cars. And we knew they would all be scored together because they're all GT3 cars. However, that is not the case. And, you know, I had to check and clarify just for the fans out there watching and ourselves that someone going around there, that is going to be Bramwood, I believe.
Yeah.
But I had to clarify that, you know, there were indeed 4 cars, and that was just not a mistake made somewhere. But indeed, when we loaded into the session, it said 4 cars. So there were scheduled for 4, but unfortunately only 3 showing up, as I believe, I'm not sure, I think there were 2 Ferraris, so we may be missing one of the Ferraris here.
Yeah. Should have also, by the way, included in this division here in iRacing is the McLaren MP4-12C GT3 car. But right now, Charles, we are watching this battle for second get hot as we come into the safety pin here at turn number 7. Matthew Powers has ran down Alex PREMAT right now and is just 0.4 of a second between the two of them as we come into turn 9. We go on board. Actually, looking off the tail here of PREMAT's car, you're looking back at Matthew Powers, ladies and gentlemen, as we come into turn 10, 11, and 12 right here at the top of the track map. That is a very technical and difficult set of corners. PREMAT, Charles, trying to give himself some breathing room here. I don't know if that's going to work out. Matthew Powers has really got that BMW Z4 dialed in here.
Yeah, he definitely has that BMW dialed in, or Benz and Beamer, as their short names would be. I don't know what a Ferrari's short name would be. Would it just be Ari? I don't really know, but I'm not sure on there. Mendez going to go off a track, but he gets it back going. But there, you see in the speeds here, the speed areas of this track, look how much faster PREMAT is as he really pulls away. I think he's got the faster straight line speed, but when it comes to these corners, like right about now, well, there's a little speed here, but look how he starts to reel him in. So I think that BMW is able to get around these corners better, but again, he can catch him in the corners, but he just hasn't been able to pass him.
Yeah, Powers trying to get something worked out here in some of these tighter technical sections of racetrack. We watched still these drivers as we have now passed the halfway mark. We are 26 minutes into this race here, ladies and gentlemen. Back into now turn, that looks like 3, 4, and 5 right here. Going to be moving out onto Big Bend, a nice smooth right-hander under the Corvette Bridge. One of the fastest sections of the racetrack. Again, probably PREMAT going to be a little bit of an advantage here as we cross now under the Mobile 1 bridge. Going to be getting him, if Matthew Powers is going to do something, it's going to have to be under braking, Charles. And the turn 7 there, the safety pin is pretty treacherous, a pretty treacherous area to make a move like that as we come up behind a slower car. Boy, these closing speeds from some of these faster drivers is just absolutely insane. As now these guys again going to come into some lap traffic here. You know, Charles, if Matthew Powers plays his cards right, this could also fall into his favor.
Yeah, he can. And while we're watching this one, we are keeping an eye on that battle between Nesbitt and Eagleton, as Eagleton did get by Corey Nesbitt just recently ago. It was not long ago, probably about a third of a lap ago, and then it was so quickly that he just took off by him. But we have been keeping an eye on Nesbitt. He's trying to get back by Eagleton, but hasn't quite been able to do it. So still, that battle for second position is the closest battle on the track, separated by just 0.3. The other one separated by about a little over a second now. So second place, definitely the battle that's heating up, as it'll heat up and then it'll kind of cool down, and then it starts to heat back up again as it's doing right now.
Yeah, Powers is right there on the rear bumper of that Mercedes coming through turn 17. We head back down the start-finish stretch here, and Powers going to have a look to the inside, Charles. He's going to pull up right behind the BMW, or right behind the Mercedes, I should say, of Alex PREMAT into that big sweeping left-hand turn 1. You see Powers looking to the inside, trying to see what's ahead on the racetrack. And what is ahead is the 57 machine of Bill Hines, a slow car in a turn 5. These drivers, and Hines going to step off the racetrack, gives them plenty of room, Charles. Great heads-up racing there by Bill Hines to let these faster competitors move on through. Now, Matthew Powers is going to have another look to the inside. I'm telling you, it looks like maybe a little bit of blocking there by PREMAT coming in down the Big Bend straightaway into the safety pin there, because Matthew Powers less than 0.3 of a second as we come out of turn number 8. We go back on board with the BMW driver up through turn 9. This is Fangio corner right here, and Powers now to the outside. He's going to get squeezed off the racetrack as we come into turn 10, 11, and 12, and there ain't room for the Holy Spirit between them boys, Charles. That's just good racing right there.
Yeah, that's right there. I'm pretty sure there was contact between those two. It was very slight as he tried to take the imprint of that Team PREMAT off the back bumper, and he wanted it on the nose of his car in that BMW. So power's still heavy on the back bumper here of Alex PREMAT. Alex trying to hang on to it though, and you know, unlike the dirt cars and the NASCARs, we get to see brake lights here, right? Nick?
Absolutely. So we know, and more importantly, Matthew Powers knows when Alex is on the brakes. We're back down this longest straightaway here at Sebring International again, coming into turn 17. Let's ride along here with Powers. He had a good run through 17 on the last lap. You see PREMAT on the brakes again. There's that second apex as they turn right one more time down the front straightaway, or onto the front straightaway, I should say. Tires almost in the grass off the exit of turn 17, and Powers going to look to the inside coming into turn number 1 here, Charles. I think he's got second spot. Matthew Powers into the runner-up position, a hard-fought, hard-earned second spot. He's 7.5 seconds behind Tristan Vaultier. I think Tristan might have this dude wrapped up, but tell you what, Powers going to let the legs stretch out on the old BMW here. We'll see if he can pull away from Alex PREMAT in that possibly slower BMW.
Yeah, he bided his time. He methodically made that pass. It took him a little bit about 10 minutes to make the pass, 8 to 10 minutes. But again, that's what we were talking about. That is, you know, the difference between someone that'll just try to send it in, because he could have very easily just licked the stamp and send it right into a corner and made contact and, you know, knocked both of them potentially off the track. He didn't do that. He waited. And, you know, like a lion or a tiger stalking their prey, he did just that, and there goes PREMAT.
And PREMAT goes around in that turn 10, 11, 12 complex, dabbed the brakes maybe a little bit too hard and got on the throttle possibly to correct. The Mercedes goes around. That right there, ladies and gentlemen, is probably going to seal the deal on that second and third place battle. What a tough break for Alex PREMAT as Matthew Powers gonna ease his way through 14, 15, and 16 onto the long back straightaway here at Sebring International. He will have your second spot, working his 16th lap right now. Still about 8.2 seconds behind your race leader, Tristan Vaultier. Roger Eagleton now, maybe, Charles, we got about 8 minutes left here. Maybe Eagleton can make something happen and close up that gap for third, but I don't know, he's got a long way to go.
Yeah, Eagleton's got a long way to go in his Mercedes to see if he can make it happen. I'm not going to count anything out just yet, as he could potentially do something and go again. Unfortunate for Alex PREMAT, who did go off the track, but you know, that is one of those things, you can't do that too many times. Road course racing, unlike NASCAR, dirt track racing, stuff like that, I like to say you have a mulligan or two. He had at least one mulligan here. He went off course, you know, it's still a mulligan, so he did have to pay the price for it. He lost the position of second place, but he had enough of a gap that he didn't lose anymore. But if he does that again, goes off track, hits the wall, something like that, he could potentially lose the third position to Eagleton, Nesbitt, Nidegger. These guys could get by him if he does that again, so he definitely has to mind his P's and Q's, don't get into any more trouble. And it makes you wonder, talking about that, Nick, how worn out are these tires, and did that play a factor into it?
Oh, I definitely think it did. I don't think the car had nearly as much grip as it did at the earlier portion of the race. It could have even been, you know, something different with the fuel load, because it just looked like Alex either got on the brakes a tad bit too hard or on the throttle a tad too early, and that's really all it took. And like you said, Charles, it could be that the tires are worn, the fuel load's coming off, and we got another one here going around right behind Roger Eagleton.
That is no.
I think that's a lap car. That's
is.
Georgia Stykos there going around. Stykos shows to be in the 11th position, so just outside the top 10, but is a lap down to the leaders. So, and that's just another, it's that tricky 10, 11, 12 complex there. You really got to be on your toes, and looks like George is getting caught out there just a little bit. We're getting down to the closing minutes here. We're approaching, it looks like about 5 minutes to go on the race clock here, ladies and gentlemen. So should be winding it down a little less than the 20 laps that I expected. I believe the leader's working on lap 18 or 19. Let's just take a look for old time's sake here, Charles, at the leader, Tristan Vaultier, of course, out in front by about 8 seconds over Matthew Powers. Powers, though, running strong in that second spot. PREMAT still, of course, rounding out the podium there in third. Fourth spot, Roger Eagleton and Corey Nesbitt up 3 spots to 5th. Jeffrey Ninninger up 4 spots to 6th. Of course, interestingly here, Charles, the top 4 cars are exactly where they started this race.
They are, you know, I believe there's a song, what is it, I don't even know who sings it, but what is it, what goes around comes around? Well, it's gone around, it's came around, and these guys back to where they started here. So we'll see Tristan, Matthew, Alex, and Roger, 1, 2, 3, and 4. As unfortunate troubles for Rob Bramley, as he is going to go around on the track. That is our only Ferrari, and that's still mostly there. But if I'm not mistaken, is he missing his hood?
Oh yeah, the whole nose piece looks like it's gone off the car. So you know, Rob's a little bit worse for wear. He's going to try to make it around here one more time. Let's hop back up towards the front and take a look at what the leader is up to. Tristan Vaultier, of course, probably working, I think, lap 18 or 19 right now. We're looking at Matthew Powers here running in second spot as he heads down the long back straightaway here at Sebring International Raceway. Good lap, best lap of the race set early on by our leader, Tristan Vaultier, a 1:59.71. Powers' best lap time, his last one, a 2:09, and indeed, Vaultier, of course, are also setting his best lap time so late in the race, Charles. It looks like these cars are getting a little bit faster even as the race goes on.
Yeah, fastest lap for him and fastest lap of the session, 1:59.69. Definitely a good time here for him. Again, like you said, very late in this race as we have 3.5 minutes left to go in the race, and we're just now setting the fastest times in the session. So it's like you said, we'll check in on that weather real fast. The track is only 68 degrees, and I checked on that prior to us going live here. It was 67 degrees. So in a 40-minute span, basically, the track has only gone up 1 degree in temperature, so not a whole lot. And you see right there the humidity, the little raindrop. There is no humidity here tonight, so, or this afternoon, with clear skies. So it is only 65 degrees, so it's definitely not Texas weather. It's cool, but not cloudy either.
Yeah, and that's actually probably helped these tires last a little bit longer than they maybe would have otherwise, because I think, and don't get me wrong, and I'm sure, again, somebody in the comments will have a better answer, but I believe 40 minutes is about all these GT3 cars will go on a tank of fuel and a set of tires. I'm not certain, but I know they're a little bit thirsty. So normally in a longer race, you know, you would be concerned about tire wear and fuel economy, and in this one, it's management of both. You just got to be aware of how thirsty this race car is going to be and how hard this racetrack is on
our leader
tires.
just got clipped by a lap car and goes around. He's into the outside wall. That is not what your leader wanted. Again, a lap car coming into play.
No, but Vaultier ain't going to lose the lead. There goes Matthew Powers right there, Charles. That's it. We've got less than 2 minutes remaining here, Charles. This is going to be our last lap.
It is indeed. We got plenty of time to get around here. Let's go back and take a look here to see what happened. You see, this is a lap car he's coming up on right now. And right there, the lap car maybe doesn't know he's there. I don't know. That is the 35 and just clips him right in the door, sends him into the outside wall or tire barriers, and then spins it out once again. That is extremely unfortunate, and there goes Powers on the replay. Powers, your new race leader, but Tristan having a heartbreak hotel right there as he has checked into it.
Oh my gosh, ladies and gentlemen, that was William Mendez getting together with Tristan Vaultier. Now, Tristan, he's not too far behind Powers here, Charles, but you got to think there's some damage to that car. Some of the arrows got to be affected. As you see, Powers just pulling away here through Fangio Corner. That's a very sweeping and fast part of the racetrack. and Powers just leaving Vaultier in the dust.
Yeah, and they're almost, we just saw that. Did you see in the background? That was Mendez.
Yes, that's Mendez again there, yeah.
And the leader, second place this time, and the leader coming by him. If I was Tristan right there, when I came by, I'm thinking I'm hitting the gas. I got some nitrous, something get me around this guy again. That could have been disaster for him a second time. As he's trying to run down Powers, but yeah, you can see the damage to that wing, and he's going to need that wing to get him, the handling that he needs on this car. So right here, we'll really see as Powers really pulls away in the fast speed straightaways.
Yeah, this is going to do it here, ladies and gentlemen. The 40-minute time clock has finished, so this will be the checkered flag here, and it will go, barring catastrophe, to the man driving the lone BMW. He moved up one spot after starting on the outside of the front row. Matthew Powers going to take the win here in the Team PREMAT race this evening at Sebring International Raceway. Tristan Vaultier going to be in second. Tristan led every lap, Charles, except for the last one, and it was Alex PREMAT in third. Eagleton and Nesbitt going to round out the top five. The hard charger going to go to 12th place finisher Nathan Kaiser, moving up 8 spots to finish in the 12th position. Charles, what do you think here? Our first road race in the books, man. I got to tell you, I loved it.
I definitely did as well. We know these guys are going to try to get here in TeamSpeak with us so we can talk to the top 3 from the race. To talk a little bit about that incident on the track, this is all for fun. There's no actual anything on the line, maybe a little bit of pride, but even so, we'll see. We'll talk to him here in a little bit about that. You think that Christmas list for Tristan just got a little bit shorter between him and the 35?
If they knew each other, yeah, possibly, because I gotta be honest with you, man, that would absolutely boil my blood. I realize that it's just hard racing, and I realize that it's no harm, no foul, but that absolutely, to lose the race like that for something that's probably not your fault, especially when you're the leader. I don't know if maybe Mendez didn't know he was racing alongside the leader, or what the issue may have been. That one would probably bother me a little bit. It's a good thing this wasn't a real race and there wasn't a whole bunch on the line.
Yeah, so no money on the line unless they had a purse, which I do not believe they did. No money on the line there. And good news, they don't have to pay to fix these cars. These cars are not like, a dirt car is expensive, but whether it is a Cadillac, a Mercedes, BMW, these cars are works of art. They spend a lot of time on aerodynamics, research and development. You saw the cockpit of those cars. They are expensive cars, so they don't have to repair them. That's a good thing. We'll give these guys a little bit of time to get in here so we can talk to them. Meanwhile, we will throw your official results up onto the screen here for the Team PREMAT special event. This is a Sebring 100 presented by United Fiber and Data, and we'll leave those on the screen there. That is your official or unofficial order anyway, and it looks like we do have drivers starting to roll in, so we're gonna step away real quick, and we come back, we will be here with your post-race show brought to you by Clan Wars servers, so don't go anywhere. We'll be right back. All right, race fans, we are back here with your Clan Wars server post-race show, and we have some drivers in here. Unfortunately, it looks like we've lost some, but we have quite a few of the drivers that we're going to take a chat with them here in the booth, because it's hot outside, so we want them to come to us, right? That's how it goes. But regardless of that, we are here, and we'll start things off with your race winner here tonight as I'll grab him. That is Matthew Powers, or Matt Powers. We'll see which he prefers, but either way, you get the win here. It's a night in a crazy finish there with a lap car. So obviously the win is a win, but how does it feel to be sitting in victory lane here tonight?
Oh, it's good fun. It's good fun. You know, you feel for Tristan because he absolutely just drove away from everybody and really put on a great drive. So yeah, still fun to take the win. But yeah, I definitely feel for Tristan because yeah, he definitely had a nice little cushion. So that's a bummer.
Oh, and a little bit different here. We're used to, of course, doing, we do some solo road stuff, but we're used to the dirt and asphalt stuff where there's cautions. 40 minutes here, no cautions, no chance to come in and get tires, get fuel. So the question is, how much fuel was left in the tank? Was it anywhere near close? And two, how worn out were these tires? And about 30 minutes out of this 40-minute race, how much of a handful was that car out there?
Oh yeah, well, I'll say the first things first is once Alex spun behind me, which was probably 4 or 5 laps to go, I looked down at the fuel, and it's a fixed setup, so it's not like I could have added more fuel, and realized I probably needed to fuel save a little bit, which was a little scary. So I did that a little bit, and then Tristan was right on the edge. So yeah, it worked out all right. But yeah, it's definitely a long stint with no cautions, and you know, you just try to not make any mistakes. But it's certainly tough on a track like Sebring. So yeah, it was great fun. But definitely a car's a handful right at the end. My goodness.
Well, you get it here. You take that BMW to victory lane. So, of course, you get the chicken dinner, the trophy girls, all that good stuff. But most importantly, I know you got some people you need to thank. So who are the sponsors on that car and all the people out there helping you to get in the victory lane here tonight?
Oh well, actually, this is a pretty solo effort today. Actually, been racing in real life with a lot of good sponsors. But yeah, for right now, it's just me by myself. So I was running with the Mark VDS support livery because I missed those guys racing in the BLM series over in Germany because I don't know, it's always been a good car to watch. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
All right, well, again, congrats on the win here tonight. It looks like we do have our our second place driver here. So, Nick, we'll toss it to you to take a chat with second place here tonight, who unfortunately is in second, almost had the win.
Tristan, this is Nick in the press box. Have you got a copy?
Yeah, copy you, Nick.
First of all, man, I want to say congrats on leading most of the race. Tough break there. Coming towards the end, coming into 17, getting tangled up with a lap car there. When you see that happen and then you see Matt go by in the BMW, are you just thinking, crap, now I got to catch him up. I had this huge lead. It's all gone, and I've got 1 lap left. How aggressive are you? Because the car is worn by then.
Yeah, it's okay. I mean, well, by then you don't have much to lose, so you push, but I knew it was gonna be tough in 1 lap to catch Matt, but it's all good. Yeah, I mean, I had a big lead the whole race, and then yeah, felt like I was being very safe with the lap car, and yeah, it was alongside, but I think he had not seen me and turned in, and then I saw Matt go by. But hey, Matt was actually very fast for the whole thing, you know, and he's a deserving winner, and we all had a lot of fun. To be honest, so it was very good, and look forward to the next race. I think since the start we've all really enjoyed the series, and Matt's been very fast from the first races we've had, and so it's good to mix it up a little bit, and we had a different winner every race in a different car, and so it's really cool to see the mix, and that every car and every driver can have a shot, so it's been good.
So this track, Tristan, is grueling. It is rough. It is fast. It has some, you come at a big bend, you're doing 150 miles an hour, and then getting into the safety pin, you're down below 50 miles an hour. How how much concentration does it take to keep this car, any of these cars, really right there on the edge at race speed for even a 40-minute race?
Yeah, it takes a lot because also for some reason with, I don't know, the weather we had or something, the cars were extremely oversteery, so it was very easy to lose the rear, and it was taking a lot. Every bump, the rear wanted to come around, so it was quite draining. But the racing simulator is always draining because we're doing it in our houses and we don't have like full motion simulators, and obviously you react to what the car is doing, right? You don't feel it at the same time like you do in real life, so it takes a lot of basically your vision and your brain corrects the car, so it takes a lot of concentration. And I think that's why it's close to real life, but some stuff is not exactly the same. But I think it's a good training in that way, that you have to do everything with your focus and your brain, and therefore it can make it easier once you get back in the real car and you actually have all your senses back.
And I've had this conversation with some other real life drivers. Even Charles and I do a lot of dirt races, so even in a dirt car where the lap is 17 seconds and there's only 4 corners and they're all left-hand turns, it's still, you lose the audio. You don't hear as much as you do. I mean, you still hear the engine sound, but you don't hear the dirt flying on the car. You can't really tell if there's something a little bit different about the way the engine sounds as it hits the red line, and you can't really feel the car come into the corner and transition through the apex or on the exit. How much more exhausting is it to just stay so mentally focused the entire race?
Yeah, it's I don't know how to describe it. I'd say maybe the real car is exhausting physically because you got the G-force, you got the heat, and this is more like draining. You're tense and you're more drained than properly tired. You're tense to try to feel everything you can through the steering wheel, so your forearms are very tense, and you're kind of your whole body sometimes. So it's more of a draining, I would call it, than a pure, physical tiredness.
I can definitely relate to that, even from a broadcast standpoint. We try to stay focused on what you all are doing on the racetrack and where your cars are and what part of the track you're on. And I got to be honest with you, fellas, I've never called a race on a track with more than 4 turns, and we had 17 tonight. So it was a little bit of a whole new world for me. But Tristan, I had a great time watching you race. You and Matt put on a great show there on that last lap. You had a great run. Anybody real quick that you want to thank on the race car this evening?
Well, mainly Alex for organizing that series, and Simon helping him out, and all our friends, driver friends who've joined us, because it just takes everybody, coming together. Obviously, it starts by Alex and Team PREMAT organizing, but then it takes everyone to just like take their Tuesday night and bring it and bring themselves to it to make it happen. So just thank everyone also for keeping like a good atmosphere. And I think we've seen over the last couple of days and weeks that some drivers can get pretty worked up in the sim and struggle to put things in perspective. But it was good. It was fun, and so thanks to all the guys joining us and to Alex for organizing.
Well, Tristan Vautier, thank you so much for being here with us this evening. Great run in second spot, and hopefully we'll see you again on a different track some other night.
Sounds good. Thank you. Thanks. Bye.
All right, Nick, good interview as always. And of course, that's going to bring us to our next person we need to have a chat with, and that is the guy that put it all together, or one of them that put it together anyway, and that is going to be Alex PREMAT here. Alex, you got a copy?
Ciao, guys. Yeah, copy.
Well, yeah, I had a great run out there on this track. We came in here, we thought there'd be a lot of 4 cars here. There were a lot of Mercedes, Just out of curiosity here, we got to ask the question, did you want to choose any others, or what leads you to taking the Mercedes here to pick up that 3rd place win tonight?
Yeah, I mean, well, I mean, we were talking with all the drivers, yeah, what they wanted as a car, and like when we choose the GT3 class, yeah, they wanted to have like all the cars, the BMW, the Mercedes, the Ferrari, and the McLaren, and obviously, yeah, some drivers, yeah, they tried to test all those cars, yeah, during like for practice, yeah, what we are trying to host, yeah, during the week, and I mean, I prefer the Mercedes, yeah, because I mean, we are running a team with GT4 cars, we have like 4 cars. Which we are looking after, doing maintenance and stuff like this. And I feel that, yeah, I've been driving that car too. So just to be in the cockpit, yeah, it seems very similar to the GT3, GT4. So that's why I'm just choosing that car. But like, yeah, obviously, yeah, there is a lot of drivers who prefer that car too. I guess this is the same as Tristan because he drove that GT3 in the past, and yeah, I think it's a good base. I mean, it's funny because yesterday we were doing like a practice. I was with Matt and I was driving the BMW just to see the handling of the car. But obviously, yeah, just to get back on the Mercedes, it's always hard. But it was fun. Honestly, it's really cool.
Well, it was a blast up there to watch y'all put this race on here at Sebring. You know, Sebring is a very iconic track, a fun track to race at. You know, coming into this race, you know, you've had some practice with everyone out here to get all these guys back together and race. You know, what were your thoughts coming into this race? As you know, hey, it's a fun race, but then when does that competition? I'm out here to win. You know, how much of it's fun? How much of it is I want to win this thing?
Well, I can tell you this is fun. I mean, I've never thought that I will be like so addictive of that sim and that kind of situation right now. But yeah, I think all the community of racing car driver, we are more into that, yeah, because right now we can't drive anymore, and even the gentleman drivers and even our friends that don't drive because yeah, they don't have any budget, but they were able to put together to put a simulation on, so which is pretty good. But I mean, like coming to Sebring for sure, I mean, it's one of the hardest track in the world. I mean, it's hard. There is like some blind corner and mainly all the bumps. They are like so hard. Even as a pro driver, like on the sim, you have to be so careful when you modulate the throttle application, so which is pretty hard. So I guess for all the other one who doesn't know the track, but they can still do like some simulation around Sebring, it might be pretty tough. I mean, you can see sometimes you put some load and the car is like snapping, so you need to adjust all of that. But it's cool, honestly. I never thought that I will be that much into racing, but I think we have to reinvent ourselves with the situation about the COVID-19. So I think it's pretty good, yeah, keeping all those drivers in the mood of challenging themselves to be like a better driver, because I do believe that if they are going to proceed and execute good in simulation, when they will go back on their own race car, they will be faster for sure.
Well, definitely a simulator. It tries to simulate the real deal. Whether it's for fun, whether it's for a major competition, it's always fun to come out here and iRacing. And of course, we know you got some sponsors you probably need to thank. Obviously, you can't thank them in the real world, but you can thank them here on iRacing tonight. Oh, well, hopefully we got him. Alex, you there?
Yeah, I'm here. Sorry.
What sponsors you got there you need to thank?
Well, I mean, yeah, all the friends that they've been on board. I mean, driving with us. I mean, there is George Stakos, there is Mark Ramsey. That's our drivers in the fleet. There is like Steven Vajda, Bill Hines. And then for sure, I mean, there is Rob Branlett, which they have been racing with us since a long time, yeah, since the series. There is like Roman Thievin, who was who is the owner of Exotic Racing, so who owns also the EXR Racing Series. So, I mean, there is like more and more drivers. Like Chris Carrell, unfortunately, couldn't come with us tonight because he had some issue. Stephanie Semo, Benjamin, and then all our friends, Simon and Steve Madsen, Corey Netsby. I mean, it's been a pleasure to drive with them, and I think in the next 3 weeks, we are going still to do some races. So looking forward, I mean, I don't have any like specific sponsor on my car because it just try to put some Team PREMAT name on it, and just to show the nice show, for sure.
Definitely, you put on a good show here. You get the third place finish here tonight. Before we wrap things up, though, we want to hand it over to Simon to thank anybody he needs to for helping put all this thing together. Obviously, we did a lot of talking with him ourselves. Well, Simon, anyone you just need to give a shout out to that made all this possible?
Well, I got to shout out, obviously, to race organizer Alex. To you guys, actually, also LSR TV. It's our first time with you guys and having the broadcasting of this race, and I think it's a pleasure. I can't wait to have a look at it on YouTube and all the anywhere else where we would be able to broadcast it again. UFD as well. I was a sponsor for that event, and basically all the drivers that joined us tonight. That was great. Thank you so much.
All right, well, yeah, have it. That's going to do it for race one here tonight. We, of course, are going to be jumping over to our second road race of the night here momentarily in about 30 minutes times or so. So, again, we hope everybody enjoyed tonight's racing action. We're going to go ahead and close it off here for tonight. So, on behalf of myself, and of course, Nick Robbins, everyone here from Team PREMAT and Team UFD, we hope you enjoyed it, and make sure you stay tuned here shortly for race number 2.
This broadcast is the copyrighted work of LSR TV and may not be rebroadcast, retranslated, or used in any form without the express written consent of 52 Media LLC and iRacing.com Motorsports Simulations. LSR TV would like to thank you for your support, and we hope you enjoyed tonight's broadcast.